Hello, everyone. Welcome into Above My Pay Grade. My name is Eric. Thanks for tuning in. You can hit that like button. There's a lot of bad news out there, but I want to give you a little bit of good news that I read from Zero Hedge. Link the article in the description below. And I've kind of felt this. The tide is turning. People are waking up to the corruption, to how power is concentrated and wealth is concentrated, and how it's deliberate. And that doesn't happen overnight. It usually requires a great deal of pain for people to wake up. But hopefully it doesn't require war, which, crossing my fingers on that. But people are waking up, especially in America, our neighbors. Inflation is doing a good job of waking people up, what causes it, and how corrupt the federal government is. But this article goes through 10 things that gives the author hope, and I wanted to share them with you. They kind of give me hope as well. Specifically, how people are changing their mind. It's hard to proselytize to people that don't want to listen, but when there's pain in their wallet, they typically want to listen. When gas is $5 a gallon, they typically want to know why. So number one, a Gallup Poll came out. I got some notes here. Gallup Poll came out. 16% of adults have confidence in the news, and 11% of, or newspapers, and 11% of adults have confidence in television news. Now, the internet has done a good job of democratizing knowledge. And I heard somebody once say, intelligence is being able to think through a problem without believing it, or to hear an argument without believing it. So before we had democratized news, we had one source, and we didn't have a lot of ways of refuting it. And today, there's tons of them. And as they say, truth does not need your belief. And there's truth out there, and the government, as Rand Paul says, is in the business of lying to you. They're the number one liar. Hence why we shouldn't have the truth symposium at the government level. Okay, they're the number one liar. Number two, mainstream outlets like the Daily Wire are talking about things like the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, things that the whole cabal of James Bond villains over there, things that people probably have never heard of in their life. And they're like, why would I care about some rich dude and rich people in Switzerland that meet in Davos every year? Because power is concentrated and they influence politicians, that's why. And those politicians are doing really stupid things around the world, like shutting down Fertilizer and concentrating power production in Russia. It's all dumb. But sometimes these mistakes can be avoided if you know they're happening. And like Germany, they couldn't avoid these mistakes, and now they're feeling the pain of it by concentrating their power supply in Russia. And people are pointing the finger at Davos and the World Economic Forum, and they're pointing the finger in the right place, which is good. We probably saw in this number three, the farmers' protest in the Netherlands, and it's soon to probably happen in Canada, where they shut down nitrogen fertilizer and the amount of nitrogen you can use to grow your crops, which means people starve. Kind of like in Germany. If you shut down your energy supply and you are totally reliant on an external source, what if that external source decides to cut it off? You are not in the power seat at that point. Same thing with nitrogen. What happens, everyone, all these green weenies go, we care about the planet. We don't want to grow our crops with nitrogen. We don't want to drill for oil or refine it in our country. So we'll ship it over here. So you're using literally more fossil fuels to glean energy in your country, which makes zero sense. But it's all virtue signaling and to make them sleep better at night, I guess. But people are pissed in the Netherlands, and they're protesting, and I love to see it. Number four, if you guys saw this British guy who was arrested in Britain for giving somebody anxiety, the backlash to that has been severe, because the slippery slope for the subjectivity of giving somebody anxiety on social media because of what you say is super dangerous. And people are pissed about it. And the police legit arrested this guy because he gave somebody anxiety on social media. And people aren't taking it lying down anymore. They don't see stories like this and think it won't happen to me. They think it's only a matter of time before it happens to me. And that's good news, because it is only a matter of time before it happens to you if you don't squash it. Here in the United States is number 5. The exodus out of California is turning into a stampede. People are leaving in droves, and California continues to march to Sodom and Gomorrah and raise taxes and have homeless problems and give out gas cards to help with the price of gas. It's just hilarious. But as they continue to punch themselves in the face over in California, people who have lived there for generations have had enough, and they realize there's a lot freer states. So that the experiment of different jurisdictions within the United States is a good thing, because one fails and one doesn't fail. One thing works, one thing doesn't work, and you have an option. You can move around, and that's a good thing. And what do you think is going to happen to tax receipts as California raises taxes? People who pay into the tax system there, who don't feel like they're getting their money's worth, they're going to leave. Tons of companies are as well. Number 6, 66% of Americans, according to a Pew Research poll, believe we are in a recession, despite the spin and the changing of the definition. Your average American doesn't think about this stuff, which I find totally understandable. They don't care what word you want to use. They just care that they can't afford food and they can't afford gas, right? So you can call it a recession. You could call it Neverland. You can call it whatever you want, but what people care about is they can't afford food, and they're not buying the BS that's coming out of the White House. And once again, another good thing. Number 7, Joe Biden's approval is at 36%, which, who are those people? The 36%. As James Carville said during the Clinton administration, it's the economy, stupid. And I've told my family this, like, there's not a lot of, most people want to go about their daily life, send their kids to school, have a roof over their head, be able to afford, things that their parents were able to afford, or maybe something a little bit nicer. But when you are affecting their pocketbook, then all of a sudden they're paying attention. And that's what is happening with Joe Biden. He is destroying the economy. And the World Economic Forum and all these green weenies, whether you like and believe in global warming or whatnot, which the jury is out on that. I'm kind of, again, agnostic to global warming. All I know is that if you want to replace fossil fuels with green energy, it has to be cheaper and better. It has to be more dense energy, and it has to be cheaper. So if you just shut down fossil fuels and expect people to smile and wave, it's not happening. And that's what's happening in the United States and all over Europe right now. And it's probably going to heat up, no pun intended, over the winter, because they're not going to have enough fuel to heat their house. And they're going back to the dark ages and burning wood to heat their home, which produces more greenhouse gases. What do you know? Okay. Number 8, Joe Biden's economic approval is in the 30%. Once again, it's the economy, stupid. If people can't afford things, maybe those 30% are the ones living off of government subsidies of some kind. And as long as the incumbent or the president is giving them more, they're fine, right? They'll keep voting for them. But what happens when the government has to face the decision of taking on more debt and not being able to afford it based off tax receipts? Those people are going to fall in. Those people are going to go with the other 70% who disapprove of the economic handling of the United States. Majority of the time, government, all they need to do is get out of the way, and the economy will do its thing. People, goods and services, and supply and demand will work itself out. Unfortunately, the Democrats cannot leave well enough alone. Number 9, 75% of registered Democrats do not want Joe Biden. So there's some logic out there. And I heard it on the Joe Rogan podcast once, which I think this is pretty interesting. Social media has given everyone a voice, and every one of us knows somebody, one of our friends, who's kind of crazy, kind of loopy, right? And let's say you have 100 friends. One of the friends you know is kind of loopy. In aggregate, in the United States, that's like 1 million to 3 million people, 1% of people. And they can use the internet and they can use social media just like everybody else. And they can act a fool on the internet. And people may think that that's like half the country. Half the country thinks that we should have a genderless system and money is printed out of thin air and more government spending means more prosperity. But in reality, what this poll is showing, 75% of Democrats don't like what's going on with Joe Biden, which is a good thing. And lastly, number 10, 24% of Americans are happy with the state of affairs in the United States. There's a small group of people in the United States that's benefiting off this buffoonery, government spending, and the stopping in the Inflation Fighting Act that the Democrats just passed. Who would have thought that spending money would lower inflation? That's right. Where does the government get their money from? That's right, they get it from taxpayers. And business, they're going to tax businesses. So what are the businesses going to do? Raise prices, you dum-dum. So people are seeing through the BS, and this is a good thing. I know there's a lot of doom and gloom out there, and I think in a transitionary period where the peak of corruption is falling apart and it's becoming easier to see, there's going to be pain involved, but people are waking up, which is a good thing. Let me know if you guys are able to get your neighbors, without proselytizing, but if people are starting to ask you questions like, why is this happening and how can we make it change, etc., because I'm starting to see that in my life. Let me know if that's happening in yours. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.